Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, Dr. Haider Shah. On behalf of Colwas, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we have another very interesting topic, and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speaker who is going to talk about secrets of crafting speeches. To deliver speeches in the right way is an art, and you have to learn which things need to be considered and need to be prepared. And that is why we have an expert with us who will give the best insights, suggestions, recommendations, and tips about all these things. So stay tuned because an amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank Kalwas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing such a wonderful platform. The aim of Kalwas is to give you the opportunity to connect and interact with world-renowned speakers, academic leaders, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to learn from their experiences, recommendations, suggestions, and tips which will create an impact and will enable you to learn and develop yourself in order to grow and transform individuals in our lives. Our slogan is come, learn, and share knowledge. So today we have an amazing person as a guest. He is an internationally known and recognized speaker, having vast experience and exposure. He is a great human being, and we always see him while contributing to the world in different positive ways. So let me introduce him formally. He is a BA Sociology with Communication, Singapore University of Social Sciences, Advanced Advanced Certificate in Training and Assessment, Institute of Adult Learning Singapore, Advanced Certificate in Training and Assessment, Singapore, Tamil Translation Reviewer at Toastmaster International, USA participation at Contest Champion Area A6 Evaluation Contest 2019, Tamil Champion Area T3 Evaluation Contest 2019, English Champion Area T2020, English second runner-up Area T3 International Speech Contest 2019, English first runner division the topics and humorous contest 2020, English second runner up division the evaluation contest 2019, English appointments held club president, the club coach, club sponsor one of the division as trainers 2012 and 2013, one of the division of the trainers 2021, and conducted various workshops in Singapore, Malaysia, the Indonesia, India, Oman, and Saudi Arabia, organized and at the events judged at various Toastmaster clubs across Asia, Ecolides, the President Distinguished Area, D2 Area Governor 2002 to 03, President of the President Distinguished Club Singapore Tamil Toastmaster 2005 to 6. Moreover to that, President of the President Distinguished Club Narpani Tamil Toastmaster 2019 to 2020 and 2020 to 2021, grassroots leader since 2013, Vice Chairman Indian Activity Executive Community. Moreover to that, he has his own wonderful the YouTube channel, giving exposure and showcasing upcoming stars YouTube channel, Tamil with the over 55 videos YouTube channel, English motivating thoughts over in debates, forums, discussions across the globe, groomed and guide adults and youth to participate in various local and open classes on Tamil. Weekend classes on Tamil are 12-hour table topics marathon, completed 60 days of the 90-day video challenge as of the 30th January 2022. Last but not the least, he's a wonderful speaker, trainer, professional, and above everything, a great human being. So please help me in welcoming our guest, Mr. Brahmakumar Balakrishnan. Welcome to the Kalwas platform, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Haider, Shah, and Kalwas, for giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge with everyone here. Perhaps you can look at the slide now.
Yeah, thank you very much, and it's really pleasure to have you. So, as a just a reminder to the audience that Sir will be presenting the slides, and he would leave the time for question answer session at the end of the presentation. So, you can email us the question at info@kalwas.com, or you can write in comment section. So, over to you, sir. Thank you. Yep,
Whenever
it's
we have
visible
a
here.
speech to deliver, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes,
Whenever we have a
you are
speech to
audible. Please carry on. Thank you.
Whenever we have a speech to deliver, there are a number of factors we need to look at. There's this interesting story that I often share about a man who went into the Middle East and he wanted to deliver a message to someone famished, tired. Next, he drank Coca Cola. Third picture, he is refreshed, except that he forgot one thing. In some parts of the Middle East, they read from right to left. So, what they saw was someone very refreshed, drinking Coca Cola, and then feeling very tired or fainted. What this shows is that before we communicate, we need to know our audience. So, today we shall cover the type of speeches, selecting topics, inviting speech titles, speech titles that will entice your audience to listen to you, hooking them with your introduction, engaging them with your speech body, and winning them over with your conclusion. Type of speeches. The first one is the informative speech, which I'm doing now. I share information and you absorb it. The next one is the humorous speech, where we entertain people using our body language, our voice, and entertaining or funny words. The next one, of course, is storytelling, something all of us love to listen to from the time we were young and now when we are still young at heart. Stories such as Aesop's fables, stories such as Jack and Jill, the hare and the tortoise, and so on. And then there's another category, which is I would put it together as motivational and inspirational messages. Motivation to me is moving a person from one level to another level. Inspiration is causing a complete transformation in that person to the point that he is no longer the same person again, but someone who has changed completely. Now, there are four areas we need to look at in any speech when we are crafting. First of all, the message. What is the message that you want to give to the audience? Before that, you need to know the five W's: what, where, when, where, and why. What is the message you want to give the audience? When are you giving the message? I'm giving the message at night in Singapore. Where am I giving the message? On an online platform at Pakistan. Who are my audience? It's a global audience. Some of them are students, some of them are scholars, and also the general public. Why? My message is to tell people, to guide people on how they can craft a speech so that they don't make a fool of themselves when they talk. But when people listen to them, they feel that when they go home, they have brought an important message with them. So you have a subject to speak on. Next, how do we start? I've already covered the five W's and the one H. So to select topics, many ways to select a topic: journals, newspapers, magazines, periodicals, the topics that are hot at this time, current affairs, what's happening around your neighborhood, in your country, globally. Table topics is what we use as Toastmasters club meetings where a topic is given to you and immediately you need to speak within 2.5 minutes. That can be extended to a longer speech and become a speech by itself. Quotations. For example, at the start of the year, we had people asking about whether you want to have a New Year resolution. And how can we drive home the point that New Year resolutions are important? That's a famous quotation. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So, using that quotation, I can start my topic. We can also take topics from movies or book titles. If you're talking about time, sense of time, if tomorrow comes, these are topics I can take so that when the audience listen to my speech title and also my topic, they are engaged. We have people living around us who could be living in their 80s or 90s. When you speak to them, you will realize that there was a time when the computer was quite big, large enough to be put in a room by itself. You would have heard of telephones which are wireless, meaning wired telephones, and you need to dial the number in a circular form. And you would have heard of a dinosaur now known as the typewriter. So our parents and our grandparents have gone through many changes in the past that affected them, and they can be topics that we can talk about. The media, the printed media as well as social media. Many topics are revolving in the social media. If there's some injustice happen in one part of the world, those of us who are on the other part of the world immediately know it is happening and we can come together to voice our opinion for or against it. The internet, again, is a great invention because it has managed to connect the whole world and have become smaller and closer to one another. Before we go to the next on starting, I would like to show a video. This video will give you many ideas, and that is for those people who think that they cannot get ideas. Just listen to the video and you can. Can you hear the sound?
No, Prof. It's not audible.
It's okay because the sound is not important.
Yes.
It's a message from there. The background sound is just a whistling music instrumental.
Sir, the video is not visible to us.
All right, then I'll take it away. I
Uh,
apologize.
No problems. Please carry on. Thank you.
When we start questions, when we ask the audience questions, that could be a good starting point because it engages them from the beginning. Before I started today, I asked Dr. Haider some questions about Kalwas to understand, but it's also a good conversational piece. Quotations, like I said earlier, when you quote, for example, if you're talking about poverty and unequal distribution of wealth, you can say, Mahatma Gandhi once said, there's enough in this world for man's need. There's enough in this world for man's need, but not enough for man's greed. But not enough for man's greed. And then we come to the topic of poverty and say why there's an unequal distribution of wealth across nations. Why some nations are rich and others are poor. And then we explore, we go further. A joke is about your personal experience. For example, I used to say, when I was serving the military service in Singapore, they called me a very responsible person because when something went wrong, I was responsible. I was responsible. And talking about marriage is about three rings. First, there's engagement ring. Next, there's marriage ring. And finally comes the third ring known as suffering. And that is how I became the Lord of the Rings. So when we joke with the audience, especially if you're a new speaker and you're very nervous, when you joke with the audience laugh, you relax, you can sleep tension free. Another one is anecdotes. Personal stories are always very touching and connect with the audience. If we are talking about failure, I can say, on that day, I and my friend were both seated in front of the principal. The principal looked at us. We did not qualify to go into the pre university. We lost a few points. He looked at both of us and said, only one of you can be admitted. There's only space for one of you to be admitted. I looked at my friend looked at us, and as if someone had thrown a coin, heads or tail, he went in. I could not go in. That, my friend, was what stumped me in my life. But over time, tide has changed. The time has turned. My same friend today, who is in a high position, one day told me, I'm so inspired by what you are doing across many countries at different Toastmasters Club by spreading your knowledge and experience. To me, I have come on equal standard with him. No doubt he's still up there, but I felt I've come to that same level. So, ladies and gentlemen, failure is not an indication of future failure. It is just part of success, a stepping stone for success. Fail means first attempt at learning. And like a child that trips every time it tries to take its first few steps, many times we will trip and fall. The powerful thing and the joyful thing is that when you get up and continue, you will succeed in life. So, with my personal anecdote, I've started a speech about how we can go on in life despite the circumstances and we can go against the odds. Another way to look at speech titles, I've given quite a number here, is following the sales technique known as AIDA. A for awareness. For example, you are interested in that girl. Now it's your turn to make the father interested in you to make her your wife or make you the groom of the family. So first they must know who you are. So you will wear nice clothes, watch some Shah Rukh Khan movies, give that romantic appeal, go there. So first of all, they know who you are. Next, the interest. So they would want to know all your credentials, your qualifications, physically, mentally, emotionally, so forth. So you've shared that. Next, you must create a desire in them, intention, wantedness, meaning that they want you to be their family member by marrying their daughter. And finally, when you've gone through all those stages, the action is getting married. The same way, when we give a topic, create an awareness about the topic. You've noticed that sometimes before a speaker even speaks, they come with flyers and they do publicity. This also happens in movies. Before the next Shah Rukh Khan movie is out or next Hollywood movie is out, the trailer is there. We are waiting for the next Matrix movie, because they've already created an awareness, make us interested in it. Next, we are interested to watch it, and finally we watch it. So the audience need to be interested in your topic. That is where you must think, is this topic something that will be of interest to the audience? If I and you know the same thing, we can't really talk. We can't talk about things that both of us don't know. I can't talk about something that you know and I don't know. But I can talk about something that you don't know. Or I will need to bring in something new that you do not know. For example, if all of us have watched the Matrix movie, what is the new thing that I can bring in? I can ask them, how many of you actually know about Keanu Reeves? When he started, how he started, how he became the famous celebrity. Some people won't know. There, you have something to speak with them. For those of us who are listening to global music, A.R. Rahman, the musician of Slumdog Millionaire, Oscar Award winner, we can talk about his life. What did he do? How is he different from other music directors of India? And how he has attained global fame and glory. And then we can also talk about his simplicity. He is quite an humble person, and you can show examples. So that is how we move when we talk about something that is not familiar to the audience. In another way, you can also say it can be an old wine in a new bottle, or to put in Asian context, put tea in a paper cup instead of serving in the metal utensils we have been doing now in a paper cup. Simple but effective. And always keep your speech titles like a kiss, short and simple. Simplicity wins. Brevity is the wit of the soul, said Shakespeare. Short, simple sentences are more powerful than long sentences with jargon, cliches, or worse, technical words that nobody understands. If you listen to the famous speakers of the world, Martin Luther King, I have a dream. I have a dream. That phrase is repeated many, many times. And that's why we still remember it. If you listen to other famous speakers also, there was a world champion who used the word, I see something in you, but I don't know what it is. That's how he starts his speech about someone identifying him as a person with talent and how over time he overcome his own obstacles, personal obstacles, and came up in life. And he ends by looking at the audience and say, I see something in you, but I don't know what it is. And that is why he became a world champion, because he was able to connect with the audience from the beginning and finally also to connect with the audience. If all of us can do that, our speeches will be world class speeches. Questions, like I said earlier, they have a very powerful way of connecting with the audience. I'll go further when I go into the techniques. Quotations. This for mathematics. There's a joke that sometimes what we know about mathematics is equivalent to what we know about women. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So mistakes allow thinking to happen. That's maths. What does it mean? In a nutshell, you're telling everyone, keep on making mistakes because that's how you will improve in mathematics. And the great mathematicians of the world are always went through a lot of it. They did a lot of practice and practice till they became perfect at mathematics. Humor always has a way of connecting with people, as I said earlier. Any movie will always have a break in between, and that is always filled up by comic relief. Even Shakespeare's comedies and tragedies always have a humor element there, because when it becomes too tense, you need to relax, you need to calm down, you need to cool down. So humor is an important place. If you can write down or keep some jokes in your pocket, in your iPhone, in your smartphone, or in your computer, and use it at the appropriate times, you can win the audience over. Anecdotes, as I said earlier, are about your personal experiences from your life. All of us, no matter what is our age, 26, 56, 76, have a lot of experiences at work, at family, at school. All these we can bring in into our speeches. These are the four techniques. They are not the only one, there are others. If you have time, you can look at these topics and put a good opening. The opening must be such that it can capture the audience attention immediately. Some of the common topics I put here is drug abuse. We know of situations in certain countries where the celebrity's child became a drug abuser and caused great embarrassment to the family, and how when a celebrity is a drug abuser, it affects the youth of tomorrow, the leaders of tomorrow. Olympics, there's the Olympics, the Special Olympics for those who are disabled or handicapped, and there's also Olympics known as the Youth Olympics. So you can talk about that. Fast food, the eternal question, right? Whether fast food is good for us or home cooked food, and why is it that we are still going to fast food? So this is fodder for thought, food for thought. You can explore it into seeing the benefits and the bad effects of fast food. Shopping, something that women enjoy and something that men dread, especially when you go with a woman to do shopping. So this is another topic you can bring in. And because you see it's shopping, you can bring in gender differences, how man looks at shopping and how a woman looks at shopping. Movies always have a lot of elements for us to bring in. And if your speech is like a movie with a roller coaster ride for the audience and areas where they feel sad, happy, angry, throughout the speech, the audience is with you. They are following you. Now comes the internal question. Are you still with me? I would usually do a very interactive session, but I think there are some limitations to this platform. Therefore, my apologies. Next, we go on to organizing your speech and concluding with an impact. The way most of us start our speech is that we start writing the introduction. That's not the way to do it. Start with what is the most important thing that you want to say after you know your message, the next important thing, and the least important thing. So, the most, next important, and the least. When you have that, then you can look at your introduction. Okay, I'm going to talk about movie stars. What is the 3 points that I want to say about the movie stars? They were ordinary people that became extraordinary. They were normal people that became stars. Third, movie stars' personal life versus movie life. So I have 3 points here. So this is my 3 points. So how am I going to say start at the beginning? That I will leave it up to you, but it should be something interesting to capture your audience. But just to give you a short teaser or trailer, if I am in this part of the world where Shah Rukh Khan or Bollywood movies are famous, I'll say, can you be the next Bollywood star? Everybody will be interested. If you're talking about international Jackie Chan star, what I learned from Kung Fu Panda, that will arouse their interest again. We can change movies to fit our topic. What I learned from Life of Pi, Matrix, is it a warning for us? So immediately the audience will be interested. What is this guy going to say about the movie? And what is he going to say with relevance to his topic? I already got my audience. So like I said, focus on the body, the content of your speech. So that's where we need to focus on facts. How much facts are you going to add there? How many numbers are you going to add? How many examples are you going to give? The more, the merrier. Depending, of course, the time of your speech. Here you can see, for example, this is a visual representation of Africa. The shape looks like Africa. Using this, I can already talk about Africa. I don't need to have a script at all. Africa has 1 billion people. The longest river in the world, the Nile, is situated in Africa, and I described the length. There are 1,500 languages spoken in Africa, which has only 54 countries. Isn't it amusing? And the Sahara Desert is the largest desert in the world. 14% of the world's population lives in Africa. They have 500 million cell phones. It's the second largest continent. It's larger than USA, China, India, Europe, Western Europe, Argentina, Britain, Pakistan, Indonesia, and so on. I can keep on saying. 6% of the Earth's total surface is in Africa. 19 Nobel Prize winners came from Africa. Isn't that amazing? If you look at it as an island, it's the fourth largest island in the world. And most importantly, where do you think diamonds come from? Most of them, 65% of them come from Africa. So if diamonds are a woman's best friend, then Africa is also a woman's best friend. Perhaps we should do more trips to Africa to buy more diamonds. In a nutshell, I've came across to you with my pointers without a script. Let's talk about the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. This is for 20,000. The year 2020 was this the World Program, the World Food Program won it. Then 2019 was from Ethiopia, 2018 from Iraq, 2017 was the ICANN, 2016 Colombia, 2015 Tunisian National Dialogue Quartet, 2014 Malala from Pakistan, and Kailash from India. So I can actually give a sum up. Over these few years, many of the winners of the Peace Prize came from non-Western or American countries. What does it show? There are a lot of peace lovers around in these countries. And I can say other things also, depending on how I want to tweak my facts and figures. So with the body of your speech, you must have a sense of mystery. It's like almost like a thriller movie or a horror movie. You do not know what's going to happen next. Suddenly the door will creak, a cat will run, and you're waiting what's going to happen next. If you can do that with the audience, they will follow you all the way till the end of your speech and even further. We have had occasions of people taking part in contests and they're not the winners, they're not the top three. The audience will go down to say, I love your speech so much. 5 years later, they'll go to the same person and say, I still remember your speech. You are the one who said that speech, isn't it? Why? They won the heart of the audience. The winners won the heart of the audience and the judges. But these people won the heart of the audience, and that's why they still remember it. Similar to movies. Some movies that we have watched long, long ago, still we will remember it. Some movies of today, after a few weeks, you can't even remember the story. That's the difference. Old is gold sometimes. There should be a signposting, just like a book. Those of you who are academicians, students, scholars, every book that we write, every report we write, will have a content. So similar to that is the signposting. You tell at the beginning, this is what I'm going to share with you. A, B, and C. A is this, B is this. Now that I've covered A and B, let me go back to C. So that is like a signpost, a guide for your audience, and they will be able to follow you very logically. Plot twists are very important. For example, if I take the fairy tale of teamwork, linking it with the concept of teamwork, I'll take the story of the rabbit and the tortoise. We know that story, right? The rabbit was sleeping halfway and the tortoise won in the race. That was not the end of the story. The rabbit came back to the tortoise and said, let's go again for the contest. So part two, they went. This time the rabbit didn't sleep, so the rabbit won. Tortoise was not happy. Let's go for another race. This time it's a swimming contest. Tortoise won, rabbit lost. And then they sat around and they thought, why must we always be fighting with one another? Why can't we have a win-win situation? So they joined forces, went for a race. The rabbit carried the tortoise and won the running race. Then part two of it was the swimming race, where the rabbit sat on top of the tortoise and they both won. So, what does this story relate to my topic, which is about teamwork? To achieve a win win situation, leverage on the strength of every member of your team. Look at the strengths of each of them and how you connect it. See, a fairy tale became part of a corporate presentation. This is how we can do plot twists. To aid us in plot twists, I would suggest reading some of the famous books, which I'll show you later. There are techniques for moving your speech. One is known as the prep, which you can use for informative speeches or humorous speeches. Clock is telling a story for storytelling, for informative speeches, or motivational or inspirational speeches. Flashback is similar to clock, except that you start in the middle point and go back to the past and then come to the middle. Always, this is done in Bollywood, Hollywood movies often. Globe is moving from different countries. If I talk about culture, or let's say I talk about harvest, the harvest festival in India, in Pakistan, in Africa, in Australia, in America. So as I go, I explain how it is celebrated. I have a lot of scope because I'm going from country to country. I'll show this with examples later again. Cause and effect. What was the cause of World War One, World War Two? What was the after effects of World War One, World War Two? What was the cause of coronavirus? We are still trying to our best to find out. But once we find out, somewhere in the future, someone will write a book about what was the cause and what was the effect of the coronavirus across the world. So again, you have scope to extend your speech. Going back to prep, point, reason, example, point. The topic here is, should women serve in the military? There are people who will say yes and those who will say no. So they will give their reason. Whatever reason they give, they will give examples. For example, if I say that it should be done, I'll say in a country like Singapore, which is small, and Switzerland, which is also small, national service for women is important because you make full use of the resources. So, what is one reason? Then I give examples of other countries. Then I conclude with my same point that women should serve in the military. That was first point. Second point, I can say that today women are able to do the same things as men. They have shown that they have the same ability. This could be because of time. Maybe 50 years ago, 100 years ago, the physical body of a woman was not able to take on such uh, duties. But today they are able to shoulder. And then I give examples again of how women can serve in the military. And also I can put a caveat saying that they don't have to serve in positions which are labor intensive. Not necessary. There can be a nurse. They can be an admin. They don't have to be holding rifles and shooting the enemy. It's not necessary. But those who can, we'll give them the chance. So again, I'm able to reinforce my. On the other hand, if I'm against it, I can say we are against it because of our culture, our religion, so forth. There are already reasons. We are not looking at whether what is right, what is wrong. We're just putting across our argument, our point of view. We leave it to the audience to come to their own conclusion. A better way is if you can say the yes and the no, and then come to a middle ground and say, let us let us leave it to each nation, a culture and a country that feels that they need to make use of the talent of their women. Go ahead. In a country that is a large population where men are already struggling to find a job, giving the choice for women to go and serve in the military is going to already have a strain on the country. Best to leave it to the men and so forth. Again, I'm not giving a judgment, I'm just giving a point of view. So I can say again, let us leave it to each country to carry this concept forth. So I've come to a middle ground, I'm neutral, nobody will come to war with me. So this is the prep: point, reason, example, and point. Clock. Biography. In any biography or story, we start from the beginning and we go to the end. History is also like that. We start from the past, come to the present, and then go to the future. Books written by, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. The book Sapiens and Homo Deus. Sapiens talks about the history of mankind from the past, from the time he was an ape living in the jungles, sorry, the caves, and how over time they progress. Homo Deus goes the next step to the future, saying that how man's life will change in the future due to technological and scientific advancements. The point he was trying to say is that in the past, people could only live for maybe 40 years because of diseases and other conditions, wars also. Current situation, they may be able to live 80, maybe in the future, even to 100 and beyond. And he gives examples of how technical and scientific advances can allow us to use artificial eyes, nose, ears, body parts, and so forth. And that seems to be acceptable because of the facts, figures, and examples he has given. So, again, like I said, he's using time. Movies, of course, start from the present. Today, I was giving a lecture here at a college in Pakistan. What brought me to this situation? Then, dang, 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 I go back to the past. In the year 2000, I joined a Toastmasters club, and then I come to the present. So, what is my future? The aftermath of this was that I was given an opportunity to speak at another college, hopefully, and God willing. So this is how we move forward the story in the movie. That's what they don't known as flashback in the movie. So this is another technique we can use to bring forward our message from the past, present to the future, or we start at the present and go back to the past. I told you earlier I'll talk about globe, right? So we're talking about global languages. First, I'm using the five W's and one H. What is a global language? So, what is the definition of a global language? How does a language become global? How does it spread all over the world? And then I narrow it down to the top five global languages. So, let's say I give this chart to everyone after explaining all those. These are the top most spoken languages. Number one, I must use my source to say to avoid controversy. This is based on the textbook.com research because there could be questions raised about why is English the most spoken language in the world. From what I know, they have included the native and non-native speakers, meaning those who use it as a second language to get these figures. Because population-wise, we know that China has the most number of people in the world, and that's why they have the most number of speakers of their language. There's only one language spoken in China, and this million does not refer to billion million. It's actually 1,132 million. It should be a billion. It should be billion. This should all be billions. The typo here. Typo here. Typing mistake in the report. And then we go to Hindi. Okay, again, there's some people who put Hindi and Hindustani together and they give figures. So again, we need to question this. Is this only referring to those who speak Hindi in India, or does it include others who also speak Urdu and together they put it together as Hindi? So we need to question. Every time there's a facts figures given, we need to check the source to make sure it is correct. And what is the basis for that? So number four is Spanish, fifth French, and sixth is Arabic. Again, Arabic, we can ask the question: is it referring to the countries that speak the Arabic language, or because Muslim population generally know Arabic? Probably that is the reason why for their number is quite high. So we can question and then authenticate it and convince the audience that this is how we got the facts. Then Bangla is actually referring to Bengali language, Russia, Portuguese, Indonesia. We can just also say that just because a country is large does not mean that it has the largest number of speakers, because there is deserts, place where people cannot live at all. So we can't have that Ghana people speaking. So it is not the size of the country, but the distribution of people that determines how a language becomes global. In the case of English, it's spoken in many countries throughout the world. The world is about 193 countries, not including Taiwan, which UNESCO does not recognize. So when you look at 193 countries, and if all countries English is one of the languages that is spoken, then these figures are accurate. So it would definitely be a mixture of the native and non-native speakers of English to make it the most spoken language in the world. And it also depends on the year. This is as of 2020. 2021 facts could have changed. The population could have increased in one part of the world and another language could have taken over. It's possible. So again, we need to remind the readers, the viewers, that we are referring to this year and this report comes from this source, and that's when our information becomes credible. Cause and effect. This can be used for informative speech as well as humor. Because the apple dropped on Isaac Newton's head, he discovered gravity. What if a coconut had dropped on his head? He would have got a headache and discovered Panadol. And what if a durian, this fruit with a thorny skin fell on his head? He probably would have discovered the head helmet. So you can see the cause and the effect, right? I'm actually taking an actual case, a scientific fact that we know about how Isaac Newton discovered the law of gravity, and now I'm comparing with other things for certain effect with the audience. It could be the way I start a speech also, but this will definitely bring in the audience because it's quite funny. Then, as I was saying, you need to have a twist in your tale. How to get it? Go and read some of the fiction. We read non-fiction for ideas, fiction for the technique. In Jeffrey Archer's books, because I'm quite familiar with some of his books, there's always a twist in the tale. The ending is always changed. In fact, in the book 12 Red Herrings, the last story he tells the reader, for this story, I have three different endings. Choose A, B, or C. And I think there's also D. There's four. There's four. So he tells the audience, you can choose to read either one of them or even all of them. But it gives us idea how a story can be twisted. So if you have a speech, how can you change your speech so that it's different? How can you change it a bit so that when you deliver it in Pakistan it's different, in India it's different, in Indonesia it's different? Because there's already cultural differences, right? So according to the culture, according to the country, you can change your speech in the middle portion slightly to make it more appealing to them. Moving on, we come to the most important part, which is concluding the speech. There should be a punch, there should be a question there, or a call for action. Call for action is usually for speeches which have a social cause. One day I was at a park and saw the place littered with debris, rubbish, toilet paper, plastic bags, tin cans, bottles. I told myself, who is going to do this? Obviously, the cleaner didn't have the time because there's just too much for them to do. And then I thought of Mahatma Gandhi saying, be the change that you want to see in the world. And I told myself, why don't I do it? I called my son and a few friends and we cleaned up the park that day. And then we decided, why don't we do it once a year? And so when I end, I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, if an ordinary man like me can do it, why can't you do it? Look at the park around your area. Keep it clean. Gather a group of friends, family, your fans. Go one day and clean up the park and see how wonderful you look the next day. You have done something that others will emulate. You may be a role model for others. That's a call for action. Question. I was unable to play the video by uh, a lady who spoke in about 32 years ago. The speech is called 7 minutes, or 5 minutes that silenced the world. It's about 7 minutes. A group of teenagers went to UNESCO and asked all the politicians, why are you all doing this to us? What are you doing about the earth, saving the earth? And 32 years later, she said, 32 years ago, I came and warned all of you that such a thing would happen, but no government took any strong action. Today, we are fighting for time to reduce the emission of gases, so on, she will say. And she'll ask again, are you still going to wait some more? Are you going to give a bad world for our children? And so on. It's a very, very powerful speech by her. Quotations, as I said, it's always useful. You can end at a quotation and saying by saying a point that can they can remember for a long, long time. Instead of waiting for someone to do it, why can't we be the change that others are waiting for? So that is a quotation that is there, and I can use the quotation and then I can add a quote also. Prelude is if you are giving a series of speeches. Today I shared with you about crafting speeches. My next talk shall be on using body language. So I prepare the audience. Some of you may be famous with some of these movies, right? Matrix 1, 2, 3. So at the end, there will be a small clue about the next movie coming. Sometimes you're not able to notice it. So same thing, if you can give a small clue about what you're going to speak at the next time, then the audience are prepared and also sustained interest. It's like going to a fast food center. They want you to come back again. So sometimes they'll give you some free gifts or something, a voucher, a discount voucher to make sure that you remain loyal to them. Same way, we need fans to listen to our speeches. Here in a nutshell is the four areas. The fifth, of course, is the message. So the four main areas in the speech that you need to focus on. You can take a snapshot of this and keep it. It will be like a mind map for you. Let me now give you an example, putting everything together. Three habits to cultivate: a journal, a repository of quotes, a mind map. So this is my signpost to you. This is my beginning to you. So there I have my title, Three Habits to Cultivate. Short and simple title. A journal. Take snapshots of your life. Record it on a daily, weekly, occasionally. Have a book where you actually write down what actually happens in your life. It will be kept as fond memories for the future. It will be permanent, nostalgic. This is the first time my son went out to eat ice cream. We took the shot to remind him this is how your face looked like when you took ice cream. Something to remember. Next, if you're looking for ideas 5 days later, 5 years later, flip through your journal. Aha! I talk about ice cream. Take the ice cream, put it whatever. Maybe you want to talk about how did ice cream started in the first place? Why did we start ice cream and consume it? What are the positive and negative effects of taking ice cream and so forth? So you got an idea. You can just have to expand it in many ways. Number two, repository of quotes. Keep a lot of quotations for every topic that you can find. Funnier, the more witty, the better. To make sure that you remember it forever, post it at LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, blog, YouTube, every social media that you have, so that one day, even if you forget, you go back there, you can find it. It's not about boasting, it's about sharing what you know and to be proud of your achievements. This is also my second child, so I put enjoy the moment when he was riding this scooter. Again, I will keep this as a memory. Enjoy the moment. This mental picture comes to me. Finally, a mind map. I'm going to show you two different kind of mind maps. The topic is success. Success. I define what is success. Why success? What is success? In Singapore, we call it the 5 C's: cash, credit card, condominium, cars, and country club. 5 C's. So with success comes fame and glory. Then I give examples. This successful man, everybody respects him because he's there, rich. This person lives in a bungalow. This is a doctor. This is a lawyer, and all that. And then I can twist. I said, right, when you have a twist, the story becomes more interesting. The plot thickens. But is this the only definition of success? Let me give you another 5 C's: character, consideration, courtesy, care for nature, and finally, courage to face anything that happens in your life. When you make a decision, you need to be courageous. More important, after that, you have to be courageous to face the consequences. That's what happened to me when I got married. I was courageous enough to get married and then face the consequence of marriage. And that's why I'm still married. I'm just giving an example. So, when I talk about success, I will say the other side of success, which is non tangible benefits of success. It doesn't have to be all money. Some of the famous people died without getting a millionaire amount of money or titles. Rabindranath Tagore denied the Sir title that was given to him because he was against colonial power. But we still remember him. Mahatma Gandhi was not the prime minister or president or anything like that, but we still remember him. There are others, of course, you can say. Malala Yousaf, she's not a world leader, but I can tell you, many men and women will follow her cause because of what she stood for. That education should be the right of every individual, whether they are male or female. That's a successful person. Success is how we define it. Are we defining it in the correct way? That will be my conclusion. Of course, this is my style. For everyone, they have their own style. Another way, I talk about the leadership style. I can talk about, put this picture and say, these are the 5 C's that I'm talking about. That is important in your person's life. Compass, have a direction where you want to go. Your destination, be clear how you want to go. Competency, develop your skills, attitude, knowledge, so that you can be going up every time. Courage and confidence is important because if you don't have that, you can't. That is the foundation for every other C. Communication, knowing when to say the right thing and who to say and what to say is very important. Otherwise, the message does not go to the person. It's like shooting an arrow without pointing at all. So communication helps us make sure that the message goes to the right person at the right time to the right person and time, place, and right event. You can't go to a funeral and say, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here," and say a marriage speech. You'll be in big trouble. Or if you go to a marriage and give the wrong speech. It happened to one of my friends. He was so busy that he got the two speeches mixed, and poor thing. After that, he had a wonderful time apologizing to people. So knowing your audience well, where, when, where is important. Consistency, sharpening the saw. If you want to become better at something, you must be consistent, persistent, and resilient. There will be many people who will come and say, "You are lousy, you're no good, why you're doing this and all that." Just hear only the good things. Those who think you are a person of value, you have something to contribute to society, will look for you and give you the opportunity to serve them and to also guide you so that you can become a better speaker, person, character, so on. The 7 habits of highly effective people. This is in another way, pictograph, visual way of putting the 7 ideas here. It's not a mind map, but it's a different way. But you see, can see there are pictures here. This will work for a person who is visually inclined. So it just is summarized. I can just use this chart to explain the 7 habits of highly effective people. And then after saying all this, I summarize by saying these 3 habits are important. I can even ask the audience. Now that you've listened to this, do you agree that these 3 habits are good to cultivate? Most of them will say yes. Because I've won them with my facts, figures, content. And so I summarize. Journal is important because you are writing down your ideas onto paper and keeping it permanently. Keeping A repository of quotes is important because you can use it at a starting point of your speech. For example, if you are going to give a speech and you want to relax the audience and yourself, you can start with a humorous quote. For example, I'm talking about friendship. A friend in need is not a friend indeed. A friend in need is not a friend indeed. That's what my friend did to me when I asked him for money. He disappeared completely. I couldn't trace his address. I couldn't trace his phone number. I couldn't even recognize him after that. This is what happens, my friends. When you are happy, you have all the friends in the world. When you're sad and in bad times, very hard to find a friend. So you see, I use a quotation to start, to relax myself, and also engage with the audience, and I continued. Mind map, as I showed, there's two types. One is the Tony Buzan way. Another one is to have a list of pictorial images in your mind or in front of you, and you can go forth. And finally, if you think you're too small to make a difference, you haven't spent a night with a mosquito. What it means is that never ever underestimate your ability. Many people that I've spoken to across the globe, they know their weakness but not their strength. Fortunately, or through the grace of God, I can find that strength in every individual that I see, and I always, where possible, guide them so that they go to the next level. You can too do the same to others. Sometimes we need to know our weakness also. If I'm making too many hand gestures when I'm speaking and nobody tells me, I'll keep on doing it. But if someone tells, then I will reduce it. We need someone to look at our shoulder and tell us there's some dirt there, clean it. Same way, be a good shoulder to others, help others. Crafting speeches is not impossible. It can be done, and it has been done. The great speakers of the world were not born great speakers, whether it was Mahatma Gandhi or George, oh, sorry, I forgot his name. Bernard Shaw. Bernard Shaw. And yes, I want to spend some time about Bernard Shaw. The first time he spoke, his hands shook. He was so nervous. He felt miserable. He made it a point every day to go to the library and spend an hour or so to read and read. He had so much of knowledge that when he delivered his speech, a time came when everybody was just waiting to listen to him. And he was a very optimistic person. He lived at the age of 94. And even at that age, he was full of positive energy. One day, as he was walking, he fell down. He just got up and walked. He doesn't let anything stop him from doing what he is. And that is why he's one of the greatest writers, playwright in the world. They say that he is the equivalent of Shakespeare's in modern times. I've come to the end of my sharing session. I hope I've given you as much knowledge as I can, and the time that you spent has been well worth your time. With that, I hand you back to our host, Dr. Haider Shah. Thank you once again for giving me the opportunity to have.
Yes. Superb session, and I would say incredible the way you started. And that's the beauty of the expert. They always give such a wonderful recommendation and tips. And I love the way you started it. I love the this circle, this pie of how you start with the message and ends with the stop, and how many things are there that needs to be considered, because we take speech as a normal thing. It's not the normal. It's a very, I would say, it's a very tricky thing. It is an art. And how do you start? How do you cultivate the interest of the audience? Right from whatever you said is so wonderful, that you start with the questioning, you start with the quotation, and you cultivate, you actually have the audience interest in you, and they would listen to you till the end. You just finish the speech. And very nicely you have given the examples of the movies, and you relate so many wonderful things in a wonderful way. So I would say it's so wonderful, and I love the way you give the three habits to cultivate. And it's so wonderful. I really enjoyed the way you were explaining the things, and you were sharing your own experiences and exposure, which was wonderful. because you have gathered it in a one very I would say that in such a great span of time, and that's how you shared your own experiences with the our audience. They loved it, and thank you very much for such a wonderful session, learning session, I would say. So let me start with the first question, dear sir. Since you have been judged on different platforms, the question is same. They want to ask the question that, sir, as a judge, how do you assess the oral competence of the presenter? What things do you focus as a judge? Yes, please.
Talking from the Toastmasters experience, because that's where most of my judging comes, we need to, in the word of Samuel Coleridge, suspend disbelief. In other words, we can't judge your content, whether it's ethical or moral or what. What we are looking at is that when they speak, was it convincing enough to the audience? Did they buy it? For example, if they sell ice cream to the Eskimos, did the Eskimos buy it? If they did that, then they won. So as a judge, we need to be very neutral. No personal bias and also no content bias. And we have to look at the speech based on the criteria, whether it has certain value and this person did justice to the speech itself. So sometimes judges have a halo effect. Oh, he's always been talking well, so they don't notice it very carefully. But that's being unfair. You have to look at the person on that day. They could be at the best form or the worst form. If they are the worst form, tell them straight. I mean, you can't tell them straight, but do the judgment accordingly. In speeches, when I've been told by certain individuals, this is one of the, this is not you. It's not correct. It doesn't follow the objective. You are distracted. You are halfway there and all that. So I took it upon myself to redo that speech again, sometime even at the same club of that person who gave me the feedback and won the best speaker there. Or the second time will be much better. Remember, one person actually turned around and said that, were you the one I gave a bad uh, feedback the last time? I actually I can't remember, but I say it doesn't matter because I learned and I improved. So when we judge people, we have to have a very neutral and be fair. Sometimes it's very difficult, but we should try our best to look at the value of the speech, whether it reached the audience, as it something related or connected with the criteria, or as the person gone after the criteria.
Very
Next question.
nicely said. Yeah, that's wonderful answer, and you have rightly mentioned the value matters a lot. And what I could perceive and what I could learn, what you have said is speak with conviction. How do you convince the audience whatever you are saying? So that is the wonderful thing. Okay, dear sir, we have another very important question, and you would also. Agree to the point that nowadays social skills are more important than ever before.
Again,
So the social skills in nowadays it plays a very important role, whether it is in the job or in the social club or in the society or elsewhere. So they want to ask that, dear sir, please guide us and give us some tips how to improve social skills. Yes, please.
actually, this is a topic by itself. Many books have been written on it. You can't say it. Basically, today in this world, people are becoming digitalized. I'm no longer a person. I'm just a number. This is how people feel at every different venue, school, working place, other environments. So what is missing is the human touch. If you want to know people and to be more connected with them, if you are an introvert, read the book by Susan Cain called The Quiet, and there's also Quiet for Teenagers. In that, she gives a classic example of two teenagers who are running for the leader of the college. They call it the student leader. One guy is an extrovert. He comes there, nobody will not recognize him because he makes a lot of make sure that his presence is felt. The other guy is a quiet guy, but he has personal one-to-one connections with many people. As he was walking towards the school hall, 50% of the school population, 50% of the school population knew him, and he won because he had a one-to-one connection. But he is a very smart guy. He made the other guy his PR. That means his publicity, his microphone. And that was a win-win situation. Today, we need to know emotional intelligence, understanding people two ways. Sympathy is feeling sorry for a person. Empathy is finding a way to help that person. Empathy is what is missing now. As a club leader, I made it a point to call every member of my club occasionally to find out what's happening in their life. As you get to know people, you will know some things about them. Sometimes they call me to ask for ideas. How do I do my speech? To ask them, what are your skills? What knowledge have you got? Tell me something about yourself. When they'll say, I like painting. Okay, talk about painting. This. This is the project objective. This is what you can say. One of them was a gardener who said, why did you compare your life to gardening? And he's also a very religious person. He's a Christian. So I quoted some examples from the Bible where Jesus says something like the gardening and all that, some concepts. So he used all those, but of course it was for the universal audience, not for the Christian audience. And he put everything together. He was a best speaker. So the same way, to get ideas, you need to connect with people. If you know what is this audience looking for, tailor your speech towards that. Learning skills. The problem is today, the art of conversation is dying. We need to revive that. Spend less time on the handphone, on social media, and spend more time with people. Increase your network. Meaning, if you know a circle of friends in your college, go to another organization like a Toastmasters, or maybe a singing class or drama class, and then you get a new set of friends, new set of experiences. So those experiences you can incorporate into your speech. May I know the next speech? Next question.
Yes. Thank you very much. Very nicely, you have mentioned that yes, they can go to the another things in order to have new friends, and they will have a entirely a different environment, and that would be a very learning. And through this way, they can also develop the social skills as well. One last question with you, sir. The question is very much interesting, and you will find it very tricky because they want to ask, what is your source of motivation? Because you have a YouTube channel, you are recording different videos, you are on different platform. What is your source of motivation? Yes, please.
That's actually quite a tricky answer. Not easy for me to answer also. One inspiration for me is the Tirukural. The Tirukural was a Tamil literature book equivalent to the book of Analects, by Confucius. Confucius is his book. Same like this, there's 1,100, 1,330 quotations there. Only 7 words. Only 7 words. So I get my inspiration from there. Another one is Mahakavi Bharadiyar. Bharadiyar was a patriotic poet of India, who was a national poet of India, who was against the British, but he did a lot of revival with revolutionary ideas, saying that you should not live with the past, but move towards the future. He knew many languages: French, Tamil, Hindi, Sanskrit, and a few others. And he was able to translate the concept from Western to Indian literature. So these are my inspiration. Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, they are all also my inspiration. To get motivation, you must always compare yourself with those who are less fortunate than us. If we are worrying about wearing what kind of a shoe, think about the person who doesn't have any food. When you compare
Yes.
yourself with those less fortunate than yourself, you are always motivated. When we compare ourselves with those who are better than us, and that is of course normally very tangible things, right? Big house, big car. When you mix around with people, you will realize that happiness doesn't come from that. Happiness is wanting to have is one thing. Having to have, wanting to have is one thing. Having what you have, are you happy with what you have? If you're happy with what you have, content what you have, you don't need extra. You are already happy. Otherwise, whatever you get, you will still not be happy. So motivation has
Yes.
to come from within. I started to
True.
motivate my son, and through him, I got motivated. Once he spoke in front of 1,200 students because two schools merged, and he was stumped for a few seconds, but he got over it. Then, when he came out, I said, "My God, 1,200 is unimaginable, but you did it." So I always look at him for motivation. Children, you can always find motivation from them. When you are sad, you go and look at them; they're always happy. Why are they always happy no matter what happens? That's the mindset that we have lost over ages. We have to regain it back. Find something to be happy about. I always tell my mom, you are so fortunate you're living beyond the age of 80. There are people who are gone before they reach 50, 40. So every day we are fortunate there is an armor around us. There's a protection around us that's protecting us from all the evil, bad, and sad effects. And that is the divine. In whatever is our faith, we have to be thankful for what we have and not worry about what we don't have. Just do what you can, things will come your way.
Yes, very nicely said once again. And you have given a wonderful message that yes, be happy what you have, and you have to look after the other things, and you have to see the less fortunate, and then you will be very thankful that yes, we do have a lot of things, and we should be very thankful for that. So very nice.
I have one more thing that I want to add, and I
Yes,
just
please,
and that is
please,
my one more thing. Huh?
please.
Whatever you do in
Please.
life, there will always be people who are the naysayers, the negative people. And if you come across someone who's stopping you from going up, remember this story that someone sent to me. An eagle was flying, soaring. A crow sat on its neck and started pecking at it. What the eagle did was it flew above the mountains through the clouds. At that distance, the crow could not breathe. So it let go and fell down by itself. The point it is saying is that go as high as possible with your ability, capability, such that nobody can touch you. Those who are jealous of you, those who think they want to compete with you, let them do what they want. But you keep on moving. Don't let anybody stop you. Just go and go and go. Improve yourself,
Yeah.
help others, serve others. Others with like-minded thinking will come towards you. Just to give my YouTube channel why it's successful is that I ask others to come forward and give their videos. When they give,
Mhm.
one lady's a Muslim lady from Bangalore, more than 500 likes. She was
Mhm.
amazed. I said, I already told you you're something special. And after that, slowly, others came. You motivate them, you empower them, you ask them to do it, you give them the pat on the back to do it. When they do it, when they see the results, they are convinced. They become motivators of others. It's like one candle can light up so many other candles. Be the
True.
candle and delight others. Light up
Yes.
the life of others.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. And that brings me to the another very important thing, that is, what is your message to the world as a speaker, trainer, learner, professional, and educator? Yes, please.
Wow, this is very, very scary. My purpose in life is to live, love, and leave a legacy. And
Oh.
throughout that process, learn something new each day. Every day, I'm learning something new. Whenever I go to clubs, I say
Mm,
I'm here to learn because expert is one
mm,
who knows more and more about less and less. I'm sure as a professor, you know
mm,
that even today they are discovering new things. How many more things they're going to
mhm,
discover, no one knows. There's no end to it. And the more
true.
humble we are, the more people are willing to approach us to share their knowledge with us. The moment we think we are up there, that's the end of our progress. Success
Mm,
is not about
yeah,
money or quantitative things, it's about quality.
mm,
If you can give a speech and that lingers in the mind of people, or most better than that, if you give a speech and you made a difference in a person's life, amazing.
mm,
I love the social counselors. A person comes to them with depression or about to commit suicide. They can turn their whole mindset, moods, and make them carry on with their life. That is true power. That's the power that we need to see. The world needs a lot of such people to go to a country or a place or village. Go there, tell them, you can become the best you want. Whatever you want, I help you. Parents always have this right. My father wants to used to say, don't worry about whatever problems you have. You only worry about studying. If we can give that confidence and hope to the children of our country, they will only focus on studying while we worry about how to bring the money for them. And that will be a win-win situation. The world needs a lot of positive-minded people, leaders. And as I've been traveling around different world country people, right? It's so nice to see that we all have the same things, the same wants, the same sadness, the same tears, fears. We are all the same. It's only our outer layer that is different. Our religion, our ethnicity, our language, our race, our size, these are different. But inside, it's the same thing. We all want to be happy and content in our life. So why can't we also help others? Forget the differences. Focus on the similarities. When you focus on the similarities, the world will be a much better, more peaceful, wonderful world. Like what you all are doing at Kalwas by just inviting anyone with talent to bring their knowledge and share with others. And you are connecting so many people across the globe. It's really an amazing thing that you're doing. I hope one day internationally an award is given to Dr. Haider and your center and everyone responsible because what you're doing is really great. We need to
Yeah.
have a war against negativity. That's more important than any other war. Thank you.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful message. And thank you very much for your kind support and encouragement. And I would say that's the beauty of you people, the expert. You people believe in sharing, and you people come and share your experiences and exposure and try to share your knowledge, whatever you have gathered. And that's the real guidance, and that's the real contribution we could do to the around the world, actually to the globe. So thank you very much for such a wonderful message. And I love the way you said that focus on similarities. And you said one thing which I loved a lot is that don't pay attention to the naysayer. Don't consider any negative. Just fly your own and achieve your own objectives. So, and you said about the spreading the positivity. That's the so wonderful messages you have given to the world, and I hope people like you who are contributing to the world in a positive way. And that's why we think that yes, this world is going in a better direction. So in the last, I would say that indeed secrets of crafting speeches are so important, and it is to be learned in a right way. Follow the distinguished guest speaker through his YouTube channel, through his social media, and you can correspond with him for future learning and guidance. He is very generous and humble person, and he is always ready to help you people. Moreover, wonderful explanation and powerful content which the great speaker has already elaborated will help you understand how to craft the speeches properly. So that is all we have time for today. Thank you once again to Mr. Brahmakumar Balakrishnan. And also, I would like to thank our audience who join us. If you have any additional questions, you can email us or you can connect to the speaker directly. Thank you all for your support and liking our session. Stay tuned as many sessions are on the way. Please do not miss any session. Until next session, take care of yourself. Bye bye.